Listen up, people. Word is, Jim Jones tried to press DJ Akademiks at that Young Boy show, and it's shaking the whole scene.
I'm like, oh, shit. I even went in front of my security. I'm like, oh, shit, let me go tap it with Birdman real quick. We about to watch the show. As soon as I walk down, I see Jim Jones. Now, I'm going to keep it a being with y'all. And again, I'm only speaking from my perspective. And y'all know, like, when I be telling these stories, I don't never be hyping nothing, right? Like, I think I'm pretty fair. I was walking quickly to get to Birdman. But right behind Birdman was Jim Jones. Jim Jones had brought his mom there. I didn't even realize he brought his mom. Like, Mama Jones, he brought his mom. So I'm walking mad quickly. But I ain't gonna lie to you, I think the way Jim seen it was like I'm walking up on him. I swear. Like, cause I'm walking mad quick. And so I see Birdman and I see Jim Jones. And I'm like, oh, Jim, what up? Now let me tell you the history with me and Jim. I don't know if in history. I did an interview with Kanye West. Kanye West said he gave Jim Jones $2 million and he was mad that Jim Jones couldn't make him a PDF. Okay, that went viral. Jim was trying to get some buzz at the time. Jim, I don't know how, like, through an intermediary, hits me to say, yo, I want to do an interview responding to Ye. It never happened, but while I set it up, Jim says to me, yo, we should probably get on the phone because, I just want to make sure we good, right? That happens with mad artists, Chad. Like, sometimes an artist want to talk to you before getting on set with you because they don't know if you about to just ask them some federal shit or whatever. So that's valid with me. It's all cool. So that's the last thing I know about anything with me and Jim Jones.
Being a content creator sounds dope, but here's the catch. You say so much every single day, you can't even remember half of it. Like, imagine I meet Lil TJ 3 years from now. I'm not gonna remember what I said about him last week, but trust me, he'll remember, because those words hit him different. That's the risk when your opinions live forever online. Ak is live for hours at a time, talking about everybody in the game, and not everybody's gonna take it the same way. Now here's the twist. This drama with Jim Jones, it's probably not even about Ak's takes on him. If Jimmy really has a problem, it's more likely about Ak's ties to 6ix9ine. See, in the streets, they don't care about who's their own man. They look at who you stand next to. And Jim comes from that background where loyalty and history matter more than logic. Think about it. Jim's circle got hit hard when 6ix9ine flipped. His people like Mel Matrix and Shotty got slapped with 10 to 15 years. They lost it all while 6ix9ine moved on. So if you're Akademiks and you're standing shoulder to shoulder with 6ix9ine pushing his career to a street dude like Jim Jones, that's almost like you're guilty by association. That's the energy fueling this heat right now. Here's the mindset. If you're still standing next to 6ix9ine today, then to Jim Jones, he's got smoke with you too. It don't matter if it's fair, logical, or even reasonable. When it comes to street politics, logic doesn't always live there. Jim pulled up with what some call young energy, but let's be real. What's really cool about acting like a hot-headed rookie at nearly 50 years old?
Cool. So now, so when I see Jim Jones, I'm like, oh, Jim, what up? And Jim, what up back at me is a different type of what up. He's like, what up? And I'm like, whoa. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if it's how I walked up, because I walked up like OG3. Remember, you saw OG3 walked up with me? I walked up, but I was just walking quickly to get to Birdman. Whatever. So anyway, that happened. I'm like, damn. I'm like, first of all, I'm gonna give Jim his credit. Jim was the oldest YN in the building, but he was on YN timing. I'm gonna keep it a beat. I ain't no liar. Jim, I just Googled his age, Jim 49. Jim was the oldest YN up in the building there, but he was on YN timing. You feel what I'm saying? Like, you could tell. Jim, and I said to myself, maybe it's because of Young Boy concert. Everybody a little bit aggressive here. So I go over to say, yo, Jim, we gotta get up and we gotta go do the interview. That's what I'm like, we gotta go do the interview. And I ain't gonna lie to you, I don't know if it's because Young Boy was on stage, Jim Jones turned to a YN on me. I swear. Jim Jones was like, yo, hold on, let me holler at you, man. Let me holler at you. And you know what? Niggas just start to be a little bit more vigilant. I'm like, is he okay now? Jim is like, yo, listen, man, I gotta talk to you. I'm like, all right, what up, what's good? He's like, yo. Now, he was taking a second to kind of get out his point, but this was his point. And I was trying to like do the whole quoting thing, but he kept asking questions like, yo, do y'all think shit y'all do online is cool? So I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm kind of confused, honestly. I'm legit confused. And I know some people are going to be like, no, accurate, playing dumb, but I'm kind of confused because I'm also trying to figure out what it could be, right? And I didn't get too much info out of him, but he mentioned 6ix9ine. He said, whatever 6ix9ine. Then he's like, yo, y'all gotta know, it ain't safe when niggas is playing with me like that. And I'm thinking about, I'm like, what the dude?
Nothing at all. That's not respect. That's desperation showing through. Now, let's break it down. Akademiks' version of the story doesn't even sound like young energy. It sounds like a man realizing he's stuck fighting something he can't beat, the internet. Jim knows that face to face, 6ix9ine is no threat. In the streets, Tekashi's a peon. He can't match Jim's resume or even stand in the same room with him. But the internet, that's a whole different battlefield. 6ix9ine mastered that digital world. He knows how to stir up blogs, control headlines, twist narratives, and make sure his story is always the one on top. And Jim can't win there. Imagine being at home scrolling and every headline you see says 6ix9ine calls Jim Jones a rat or 6ix9ine exposes paperwork. That pressure builds up, and now Jim is forced to respond. Not because 6ix9ine is dangerous in real life, but because he's dangerous online. That's the part that really eats at Jim Jones. Jim Jones is clearly frustrated. See, Akademiks is tight with Wack 100, and we all know Jim and Wack been at each other's necks for years. So what happens? AK gets caught in the crossfire. It don't even feel like Jimmy really has a direct issue with Ak. It's more like he can't touch Wack. He can't get near 6ix9ine, so now he's aiming at the one dude in the middle, Akademiks. Think about it. When 6ix9ine last started ranting about Jim, it wasn't even on AK's platform. He did it on another podcast. That means whatever Jim's energy is now, it had to come after the fact. And here's the kicker. Jim was literally hitting up Ak to line up an interview. He wanted to hop on the phone with him. So if you really had all this hostility before, why reach out for a sit down? That don't add up. It looks fake, like you were playing cool to get your shine. But when it didn't work out, suddenly you got smoke. At first, Jimmy actually played it right. He pulled Ak to the side, wanted a man-to-man conversation. That's respectable. That's how grown men handle issues. But then it switched. Suddenly the mature vibe turned into some immature behavior, and seeing a 49, almost 50-year-old man spazzing out like a teenager, that's embarrassing. Like, what are you even putting on that show for? It looks less like power and more like desperation leaking out in public. From what it looked like, Akademiks wasn't even on that type of timing. He seemed cool, telling Jim, "Bro, we good? We about to do an interview. I'm not here for drama." Ak wasn't pressing nothing. He was chilled out, trying to keep the vibe low key. But Jim, he's the one who started turning it up.
I kept trying to ask him, I said, what me and 6ix9ine got to do with you? Or what I got to do with if you and 6ix9ine got something? Now, granted, Chad, I keep telling you, rappers are the best at, if they can't find the person they don't like, someone else inherits. So it's like Dave Free seeing me, and Dave Free saying, yo, well, I'll never see Drake ever in life, so let me tell you why I'm mad at Drake. Okay, cool. I guess Jim Jones is like, he's mad at 6ix9ine? And I was thinking, I'm like, yo, is he mad at, like, how is he mad at 6ix9ine and coming to me? Y'all two were 9 Trey Bloods. I was never a 9 Trey Blood, and I don't want to be one. If y'all got a problem, and here's the thing, I was thinking about their issue a little bit more. When 6ix9ine was a 9 Trey Blood, Jim knew about it before everybody got locked up. He could have prevented this by trying to do whatever he had to do then. 6ix9ine gets locked up with some of the 9 Trey dudes, tells on the 9 Trey dudes, and then afterwards, 6ix9ine is still clowning because 6ix9ine like wearing that rat sleeve. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't care. But anyway, That happened. You know, I was trying to see, like, because usually me, I'm one of them people. I talk, like, I have that conversation. I know some of y'all, like, again, after that handshake and even like that energy, I could have just said, you know, I'm gonna just leave him over. I walked up, I thought we could have a conversation. He just wasn't trying to have a conversation. So he was just like, yo, man, I ain't trying to have no conversation. He's like, listen, man, just enjoy the show. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, yo, he said something like, yo, and if anybody got a problem with me, they can let me know. I'm like, all right. Anyway.
It felt like watching somebody get madder and madder mid-argument, just searching for a reason to blow up. AK kept it calm. Bro, I got no issue with you. What's going on? But Jim flipped it into this weird show. Yeah, enjoy the show. Yeah, enjoy the show. Yeah, enjoy. And then, out of nowhere, he's talking about, if anybody got a problem with me, what's up? Like, huh? Who even rolled in with Ak? That would be gunning for you, Jimmy. That's not normal tension. That's a whole different vibe. Honestly, the way he was moving looked wild, like he was seeing smoke that wasn't even there. It gave off that somebody hit a line before the event type of energy. Hyper, twitchy, like he's in a whole other headspace. I can explain pulling a man aside to check him. That's grown behavior. But this tripping out energy, that's like seeing ghosts in a room full of people just trying to enjoy themselves. And if you peep the backstage clips from that Young Boy show, everybody was vibing, laughing, having a good time. Except Jim, who was acting like he's gearing up for a war no one else was fighting. That's the craziest part. Jim turned what should have been a regular night into a whole scene. Nobody backstage was thinking about beef, but he made it seem like the room was against him. That's insecurity showing loud, especially for a dude with his status. Instead of enjoying the show or locking in an interview with Ak, he created tension out of thin air. And that's not a good look for a veteran in the game. And think about the optics. Jim Jones walking into a Young Boy show, one of the hottest, youngest crowds in rap. And instead of keeping it cool, he's snapping at Akademiks like it's life or death. To the new generation, that doesn't come off as tough, it comes off as pressed. Almost like he's trying to prove something to people who already moved on from that type of energy. Meanwhile, Akademiks came out of it untouched. He didn't wild out, didn't match the hostility, and that makes Jimmy look even worse. Because when you're almost 50, standing in a room full of young stars, yelling about problems nobody else sees, it makes you look out of place, not powerful. People online already clowning the footage, saying Jim looked paranoid, desperate, and stuck in an era that doesn't exist anymore. At the end of the day, this isn't about winning a fight, it's about image. And in that moment, Jim Jones looked like he lost control of his own. He wanted respect, but what he got instead was people whispering that maybe the pressure is finally catching up to him.
Jim was on his YN energy, man. I'm hoping he was just in a, you know, maybe an upset frame of mind for that time, but I don't know. Then everybody else tells me, they're like, I ain't gonna lie to you, that's exactly how Jim is. He's usually pretty angry. So, whatever. The only thing that I could really think about, obviously 6ix9ine's been saying whatever about Jim Jones, right? They're both in a gang, right? I'm a nigga. If Jim Jones says something about 6ix9ine, I'm posting. If 6ix9ine says something about Jim Jones, I'm posting that too. Like, that is what it is. I was thinking maybe it was this clip. Like, I was thinking it was this clip. I think we posted it. Let me see if I can find it. I think it was the clip where 6ix9ine did the podcast with Charleston White and Steiny, and he talked about Mel Matrix, right? Because, like, again, he wouldn't like tell me exactly what it is, but I felt like it was over some 9 Trey blood shit. That's what I'm saying. Jim Jones is still moving around like YN, bro.
Once the clips hit the internet, the reaction was brutal. Fans didn't hold back. People were saying Jim wasn't looking like a boss. He was looking like a man fighting shadows. Some even joked that he was battling Paranoia more than he was battling Akademiks. And that's the worst thing for somebody like Jim, because the streets thrive off perception. The second people think you're losing your cool, that aura of control starts to crack. Twitter lit up with people clowning him, memes flying, fans calling him an old head stuck in 2009, and others saying Akademiks actually came out looking more solid by staying calm. Imagine that. The media guy walks away looking tougher than the rapper who built his whole brand on respect. That flips the script in a way Jim definitely didn't want. And let's be real, this isn't the first time the internet put pressure on Jimmy. Every time 6ix9ine drags his name, it trends. Every time Whack 100 throws shade, people amplify it. And instead of letting it slide, Jim takes the bait and the internet eats it up all over again. At this point, it almost feels like he's playing into the hands of the very people he claims to hate. That's why this whole incident feels bigger than just a backstage moment. It's about how Jim Jones is being seen today. To a lot of fans, he's starting to look less like the untouchable Harlem vet and more like somebody rattled by the same game he once controlled. Backstage, the vibe was nothing but love. I literally saw OG3 walk up on Vlad, give him a long hug like 30 seconds straight. That's how happy everybody was. Nobody had bad energy back there. It was all positive. Now outside, that's different. Fans were wild, some even scrapping in the crowd, with one dude getting jumped just for yelling, "Free Lil Durk." But backstage, it was a straight up celebration. Everybody showing love because young boy is finally free to move, finally free to travel. That's what the night was supposed to be about. But instead of joining that moment, Jim Jones came in with the wrong energy, and it looked embarrassing. Nothing gangster about it, nothing impressive, just corny. Jimmy got real enemies in real life, real issues tied to the street life he claims. If he wanted to press somebody, he's got a long list of actual ops out there. But Akademiks, over something 6ix9ine said when Ak wasn't even around, that's not a good look. It just makes Jimmy seem pressed over the wrong person. So here's where I leave it to y'all. What do you think? Did Akademiks actually do something to Jim that we don't know about? Or was this just Jimmy lashing out in the wrong place at the wrong time? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget, subscribe to Dripzine, hit that like button, share this video, and keep the conversation alive. The culture never sleeps, and neither do we.